nice easy squeeze from both crews on the first stroke there, Mark.
Yeah, and they're off, and you're off clean. That's the most important thing, and then you start going through the process and start going through the gears.
So there's York City Rowing Club in their distinctive black, gold and purple kit, and that boat in the yellow, matching the yellow on their rowing kits. In the regatta last year, in this event, they went out to Lee Rowing Club, who were semi-finalists in this event in the second round. But they are a good crew, they are experienced, they won a really close race in the first heat of this event last year against King's School Worcester. And you can see there's not much between two crews as they come out the top of the island, move towards 500, going babble to babble, really. Yeah,
and once again, you've come off the start now, and you're coming into kind of your base pace. And it's so important you get that transition onto that right, and you can just see the crew from York they just look like they're rowing more cohesively together to come onto that kind of rhythm.
Closest to us, we've got Lachlan Utley. You can just see him on the left of your picture now, the 17-year-old strokeman. It's his first Henley appearance. That's a big thing, isn't it, to appear for your first time at a regatta like this, Mark?
Yeah, it's huge, and your nerve, talked about the anticipation at the start, the nervous energy, and to sit there, and I remember as a junior looking at the umpires stand up with the flags and the call over, but it's just such an amazing experience to race up the Henley course.
Now, I'll tell you what, it's really interesting, this York City Rowing Club just moving away. Jason Ferguson, Schofield, Harvey Orskov and Hunter Jones in the stroke seat. What do you call if you're in George Watson's college now? Do you try and react to their move? Do you keep to your game plan, your race plan? What's the story?
Well, this is what you're relying on your bow person, because they're your eyes of the boat. They should be doing the kind of glimpse. Where are they? I know you can't really say a lot, but you need to keep the rest of the crew motivated, because you don't want everybody else looking round. And they need to check the movement of the York boat right now, because if they keep moving, then they're going to lose contact.
That's a crucial. You saw a look round there from the bowman in George Watson's College, James Martin, 18 years of age, and two of this crew are returning from the George Watson's entry in the 2021 regatta, so they do have experience, and you think that experience is going to count for something, because York City are rowing really nice, really long. They've kind of kept their cool, and they've just edged out. It doesn't look like they've done any big sort of bursts or pushes. They've just kind of edged at their pace, Mark.
But I think that's a smart thing to do in these conditions. You're not trying to do a massive move. You're just trying to inch out every stroke and capitalise on maybe your opposition making a mistake, looking over, not really focusing on their boat. But it looks to have stuck a little bit there, and that's something that if you're in the York crew, you want to push them away and break that contact.
So we're out here in the middle of the course. Sometimes a bit difficult to actually tell as an oarsman where you are. You're somewhere halfway down on this long Henley Championship course. George Watson's now, you can see at the top of your picture, coming back into it. They're probably, just like a metre or two down. They look to be slightly more aggressive. They look to be attacking this York crew, Mark.
They're fighting. That's what you love to see, is that they're going for it now to make sure they stay in contact, and you can see them edging up kind of, half a seat at a time. And are they going to go straight through, or do York check it at this point? So this is quite an important, it's a critical moment in this particular race now, with which crew is going to move and which crew is going to get stuck.
Nice long draw in the York City boat. They're in yellow. You can see them on the right-hand side of the screen. George Watson's, though, have kept that high rate of striking. They are fighting this tooth and nail. They were down off the start, and they're really pushing back. They've pushed right back up this York boat, and you can see there is hardly 2 metres between those bows, and we still have quite a lot of this Henley course to row. Who's your money on, Mark?
That is a gutsy move there by the George Watson's crew. The way that they've stuck at that last 700 metres to really put themselves into contention, it's one of those things you hope it hasn't cost them so much that they can't keep that momentum going. And if you're York now, you move now, because you're anticipating that at some point the George Watsons won't be able to keep moving like that.
There's a great view of the Henley course down to the finish line, probably about some 2 or 3 minutes away from the finish line. York City Rowing Club on the left of your picture. Close behind them, George Watson's College. And of course, they've got some fantastic alumni at George Watson's College. So Chris Hoy, the multi-Olympic medal cyclist, he learned to row at George Watson's College on the canal there, the narrow winding canal.
Is that right? You found rowing too hard, that's why he started cycling, is that right?
Yeah, that's the story we rowers like to tell. George Watson seemed to be moving through on that shot. We'll have to get confirmation when we get another camera angle, but George Watson's fight seems to have taken them through York. York boys have got their heads in the boat, they're not looking out, they're focused on what they're doing, but they're going to have to find something extra to cope with this tigerish move from George Watson's.
And especially now, fatigue's starting to play its part now, and this is when, you know, you have two boats close together, an error could cost you the race. So it's really important that, you know, they keep in their boat, keep in their bubble, and keep going through their steps or their moves as they come into the enclosures.
Yeah, the stroke man we see in there, Hunter Jones from York City Rowing Club, kept his head in the boat with that brown cap on. Nice rhythmy setting, beautiful take with the legs on the front. And George Watson's are still harrying. Maybe York City have maybe just pushed through a little bit and have just got the advantage. It's going to be very close coming through to this camera shot.
That's a really important move, just trying to give them the edge as they come into the enclosures, but George Watson's are not letting go here.
Well, George Watson's have been pushing and pushing all the way down. Have they got anything left to give, Mark, as we come through to the enclosures? And what do they call? How do they find the extra motivation, the extra power, energy to pull something in?
I think it's that kind of sixth sense that you get when you're beside a boat. If you're pulling them in, pulling them towards you, and you start seeing more and more of their athletes and their boat and the blades coming to view, you just seem to get a new lease of life. So I'd be interested whether they can maintain that aggressive move that they've had literally all the way up the course.
It's great, George Watson's College. It's a school dominated by rugby and hockey, and the boat club definitely achieves more than is expected of it. They punch above their weight, George Watson's College Boat Club, and they are punching above their weight now as they try and hang on to this York City crew. It's one of the closest races of the day, this at Henley. Absolutely toe-to-toe down the course. It's been a brilliant race. Look across from James Martin there.
That look is so important, because that look is the one that informs the rest of the crew. We are going now, and they've broken them.
Wow, what a move, George Watson's College. Where did they find that energy from? That's amazing. We're coming up to the finish, and George Watson's College, who sculled down for most of this race, they attack, and York City Rowing Club have been broken in the final stages. It's been a fantastic race from both crews. George Watson's College come up to the line. They take the victory, a memorable victory in this heat of the Fawley Challenge Cup. We hear them celebrate. They know they've been in a race, both crews there.
That was incredible. The way they attacked that the whole way up the track was fantastic.